Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of FarmCon Conversations podcast. I'm co-host Todd Leckner with my good friend Kevin Van Trump in Kansas City. Kevin, good morning.
Hey, Todd. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, pal. Let's just get fired up with our weekend activity. You and I spoke earlier. I know you had some stuff, but tell us about this weekend.
I just had to go to a darn funeral for a girl I went to school with. We were longtime friends, so yeah. Sean and I went to the funeral, ran into a few old folks there. We all went to school together, and just had to go back to the house after that. One of those weekends you hate to see people get together on things like that, but it is what it is. So.
Well, yeah, and then you and I spoke earlier, Steph, and we had a pretty good conversation on some of the topics that came up there, and then we thought it worthy to bring up. And in the field of dementia, Alzheimer's, and things, I guess that was how she passed away. Is that correct?
Yeah. Her mom had it, and she got it. And yeah, she's a great lady. I think she had a master's, maybe her doctorate in helping behavioral problem kids, and she ran a school here and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know, maybe. I think about age 55, 54 or something, they made her retire just because it had gotten so bad. And then, so I think she made it, she was about 59, I guess, late 58, almost 59 when she passed away. So, I don't know. Same stuff my dad had. Same thing kind of Michelle's dad ended up getting. So, similar, brain type of deal. So, sad deal. But, I think that's where we're all at. So we're all facing it, and we're all heading that direction. Guess we'll see.
No. And that was one of the things, and listen, we can go as far as this as we want to, but you and I were talking about things, each of us in our own lives, so just a funny little thing we laugh about in a sense, but I mean, what's happened. But then the things how we're adjusting our lives, accepting, hey man, we are getting older. Hey man, we are a little slower at this, or we need to get double checked on that and stuff. And you brought up some very sound points. I mean, especially as a guy running the family office, so to speak, and how you bring the kids into pretty much a lot of decision makings now, just as getting them prepped down the road.
Well, yeah, you asked me if I ever have moments where I forget or I get out. What'd you say? You got out in the barn the other day and you weren't sure until you were out in the barn for? Yeah, no. I have about 20 of them a day. I mean, it ain't like I told the state and the people on our staff. I bet it takes me, and I told you, I bet it takes me maybe 8 to 10 times longer to do the report than it did maybe, say, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
Because I told you, my big advantage through life was that I had a photographic memory. And, you could ask me what Argentina's corn Uruguay. I mean, I would know for the last 10 years back. Well, that ain't the case. And, it takes me, I got to look stuff up and I got to think about it. And a lot of times I can still remember it, but the problem is I'm not sure if I'm right. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
so,
exactly.
Now I've shot some holes in the old memory here where there have been times I thought I thought I was right, but I really wasn't. And my memory has failed to some degree. So now I'm second and questioning and, I think, what is that I told you? The line I'd heard a long time ago, age-appropriate adaptation. And,
right.
And I always say it to myself, age-appropriate adaptation. And that's how most of us, people end up dying. You do something silly, you get in an accident, and then it's just a train wreck. And I think when we get out here past 60, and you're in that age bracket where you're out there, I like to call it, you're well onto the back nine, and you're on hole 17 or 18, so to speak. I think you just got to be cautious. You got to be a little bit careful, and just to try and avoid the train wrecks. I mean, right? I mean, a lot of our friends, I think, get on a ladder, fall off, that injury then snowballs on them, and the next thing it's just a slippery slope. One of the girls was over. She'd been skiing and gotten a really tough skiing accident, and that opened up, just a slippery slope to the downside there. So it's, I just think it's as we get older, we just have to, I think, be open and willing to admit when things are going south. And that's what I told you, Ted. I had told the kids, like, listen, my dad had this, and what I didn't like about my dad's situation with the dementia, I mean, he got, he was just combative about it. all the way out and in denial for years and years. And, he just wouldn't admit it. It cost him damn near everything. It cost him his relationship with the girlfriend he had. And, things got rocky with all the family and everything because he was just saying he didn't have any of that. And he was perfectly fine and knew everything. But I'm taking the other stance on it all. And I already told the kids, I'm like, I'm embracing it. I'll tell you right now, there are tons of movies that Michelle and I watch, now we'll watch some movies, and I'm not kidding you, we'll get about three-quarters through it and like, man, I think we saw this movie before, when we were younger or something, and we didn't realize, we just didn't remember. And it's interesting, though, Todd, and I tell the kids, that's why I try to bring them in on all the decisions and all
right.
the things we do, just because I want the sharpest minds and the sharpest tools to be on my team here and to be able to be used. So when the kids tell me, like, Dad, you got a meeting at 10, and I'm like, no, with so-and-so, and I'm like, no, I don't. And I pause now, and I say, well, you may be right. Maybe I do. But there are times they're wrong as well. So it isn't like it's I'm completely losing it. But I know that as I'm getting older, I'm certainly seeing a regression in my memory or the recall and things of that nature. So I'm not gonna fight that and say it isn't happening. It certainly, and like I told you, I used to tell everybody, we were playing poker the other night, and this is a great say. We were playing poker, and most of my buddies are all older, in their 60s, 70s, and that occasionally there'll be a handful of younger players, in their 30s that, a couple of them are ex-professional poker players, this, that, and there. Well, one of the older guys had a good hand there tonight or something. He put a big bet out there. And he was shaking. His hands were shaking just when he was putting the card. But he's 70-some, and his hands are shaky as it is. Well, one of the younger kids says, "Oh, you must have a great hand, just shaking like a leaf, shaking like." And I laughed, and you could tell my older friend was kind of embarrassed. He didn't like the comments. And I said, "Look, guys, I'm gonna tell you right now. When I was younger, when I was their age, I thought I could beat anyone at that game of operation. I'm like, there ain't no way nobody's ever beaten me at operate. My hands were as, I had no shake at all. And I told them as I've gotten older, I'll notice at times, it depends what it is, but obviously probably when I'm more sure, got more going on or more risk. But there's a little bit of a shake there, Todd. And I told you, remember, we talked about it just playing sports and we always thought, man, you got to have, feel in your hands and your hands got to be, but boy, I'm just telling you, as I've gotten older, certainly is the case. I think nerves get worse and some of that, shakiness. I don't know. I don't know how you avoid it or anything. So that's where I say it. I'm just embracing it. And hey, it is what it is. And I tell the kids it's just part of getting older. And, I think we just have to, instead of covering it up, I guess is the main statement. I'm trying to be open about it. Tell my family and get my sharpest people on my team to try and help me make better decisions. So, yeah. Well,
and that's what I thought in our discussion. I found you got to accept this, and it's funny because you and I going back to college days, and we didn't have these conversations, until about 5 years ago. Just things, getting old, the creaky muscles and this and that. But the point is, you got to accept it, you got to address it. And hell, Kevin, I'm 60. I'm telling you that. And I remember you and I in college together, but. And we just installed, handrails on some of our steps out there, just because I know someday you're going to catch the shuffle. and going down, I think is one of the worst things to do. So that falling is where you hear it all happening. So anyway, accept it, move on. But I was impressed. I just kind of was, I guess, impressed to tell you all the steps you've taken to prep and understand and deal with it. So anyhow, hopefully, I know a lot of folks are out there dealing with these things, and can be a challenge, and there's a lot of support out there. So appreciate you sharing on that. So let's dive in. Let me give a quick disclaimer, and then we'll get into your thoughts on corn, bean, and wheat and stuff. The commentary and market insights shared by Kevin and our guests on this podcast are educational and informational purposes only and do not constitute specific trading, hedging, or investment advice. Futures and option trading involves significant risk, and listeners should consult with their own professional advisors before making any final decisions. All right, Kevin, you really pounded the bull drums yesterday, on the report. Tell us what you're thinking. Let's just start with corn.
I don't know about that. No. Whoa. I don't know.
I apologize, folks. My phrase. You get a good story on that.
I think it's all in perspective.
It is.
And I said, I think there's a lot more downside still left to this market, but I had started nibbling a little bit as a bull. So, and that's corn. So,
Right.
we've really taken corn and beans and wheat out to the woodshed a little bit here off this rally. And,
Right.
I think, we got the report coming up this week on Thursday, tomorrow. And I don't think anybody's expecting a whole lot of changes, as far as the balance sheet numbers are concerned. I could argue, global corn, and bean balance sheet may move a touch higher, depending on what they do with South American production. There's a lot of talk they're going to have to bump South American production a little bit higher. Domestically, though, you may see a slight, either way, it's just slight movement one side or the other of current where we're at in the ending stocks. Wheat, I could say that maybe the global balance sheet gets a little bit tighter just because of some of the production pullbacks that we may see in the Southern Hemisphere and a few of these other places, and what's happened here in the U.S. But from a domestic wheat balance sheet, probably moving a touch higher. So like I said, I think it's going to be mixed. I'm not looking for any crazy surprises. Certainly there could be. We just never know the way the USDA is going to lean. But no, Todd, I just think, maybe they get this corn beat up pretty good. You still got Dees up close to 450. I mean, still in that range. So it isn't like there's a fire sale taking place here in corn. Yeah, you got July corn, down closer to 420. We got down. I bought a little bit at 418 the other day, and I got some D spot at like 440 something right in that area. But like I said, super small positions, because I think there's a lot more. I don't say a lot, but I definitely think there's a decent amount of room still to the downside here over the next few weeks. But I want to be a longer-term demand bull. I think there's a demand story brewing in the corn. And I also think I think the USDA's got the production estimate too high. Like I alluded to, I think we're probably would end up closer to a 180 yield maybe than the 183 where they're currently at. And I also think rather than saying 87.4 on the harvested acres, maybe we're around more like 86.5 when it's all said and done. I don't know. I mean, I'm just taking some shots in the dark kind of because we still don't have the June acreage report. At the end of June, we get this acreage report. That'll give us a better idea. And I remind myself, Todd, because I know I was wrong last year. I thought that acre number was going to come down last year. I thought the USDA had it too high. You did too, and we were wrong.
Definitely.
I mean, I don't know how much it impacted our overall marketing and our trading, but we were wrong on that for quite a while. And so I'm hesitant to sit here and say I'm just going to really place a huge bet on this. But my gut or hunch tells me that insurance levels were pretty good where we got established here in the spring. Input prices are really high. And we got some areas that are, I'm going to say, too wet. Some areas have just seen some pretty steady rain. I know we have here. Maybe I'm just talking what I'm seeing in my own backyard. And we also have some areas that are just way too dry, right? So I think you got some extreme edges where there's problems and complications. I'm kind of focused and dialed in a little bit on the too wet conditions because we've really been seeing it here, and there's nothing but rain in the forecast for us, but rain and cooler weather next week. And so, just as you and I have talked before in the past, the wet conditions, I think, lull you to sleep, make you think you're going to have and it makes the trade think you're going to have a better yield than you end up having a lot of the times. There are just so many variables and additional risk layers that can come in when the crop, the field's wet and damp, especially kind of early. And it's sometimes hard to identify it. And like I said, nitrogen problems can pop up everywhere. And, I think with the inputs being expensive and the insurance being pretty good, I can see more people not throwing a lot of money at this thing, and I can see more fields being abandoned, and I could see more, just more insurance claims and less money being thrown at the crop, so to speak. So I think you could take the top end off the yield pretty easily. And so, I'm sitting in my head saying, instead of being closer to 16 billion bushel crop, maybe we're closer to a 15.5 or 15.6 billion bushel crop. And, that's a little bit of a game changer. That could knock, 300 or 400 million bushels off of where we're at, get us down closer to, 1.6 on the carry at some point, 1.5 maybe, if things really kind of show up a little shaky. And then you're talking a little different story. I feel like the funds still would love to trade corn as an energy and an inflationary play as we move forward. We just really haven't gotten the headlines as of late because the weather's been mostly cooperative. Everyone kind of had been thinking that we were past the most worrisome part of the war. So you took the weather premium out, you took the war premium out to some degree. Now you've escalated the war back again. But, kind of like we saw happen when Russia went into Ukraine, the market tends to get a little calloused fairly quickly. So I think the war premium is probably done. Excuse me. Even though, we're seeing crude kind of crude's below 90 here today. I mean, you're at $88, but you just haven't seen crude take off really and go nuts to the upside like a lot of people were talking. There were people talking to $150 crude, $200 crude. Well, that didn't happen. I think that you took a little wind out of the bull sails on that, and across the board you had more of a kind of risk off type of play rather than really juicing it with risk on. So same time, you've had dollar strengthen quite a bit, and the strength of the dollar coupled with where we're at in the other underlying landscape. And I just think it's been one heck of a headwind, and the bulls really bailed out and took off for the exits, which is what I'd said be careful of, because they were supply driven spikes, and I said I think this is it could be fast and furious. So price the number of bushels you're comfortable getting priced, and move heads up, because when she goes, she's going to go, and here we are back down on the downside. But the good news is, I think we got a good demand story in both corn and beans. Beans, it's going to take a little time. I'd like to probably I got my window set. I don't have any positions on the beans at the moment, but I'd like to buy some beans. I'd like to have a long position in beans kind of closer going into harvest. And I know that sounds kind of nuts because of the harvest pressures and things, but I just think you're going to see a real uptick in overall domestic crush. I think you're going to see some really big demand numbers come out there in that second half of the year, and maybe some type of bullish position going into that, with the Super El Nino talk, with possibility that you could see some acreage setbacks and complications in Brazil, other parts of the world may get a little more of a commodity bull going in the grains and soy market because of the weather headline. And that's how I'm going to probably play it and be positioned. So if they get corn beat up well enough, Todd, and they get the bean market here beat up well enough, I may look at some reownership strategies, honestly, and just see where we're at. But as a spec overall, sitting with just a little small baby position along some corn, I have no position currently in the bean market. Like I said, I would like to have a bullish position going into the harvest to some degree or around that area. And maybe the market will anticipate the headwinds of harvest and beat it up pretty good ahead of it, and that'll be our opportunity. And wheat, I think there may be another opportunity in wheat, Q4 of this year, maybe first quarter of next, and that'll be our window of opportunity there. But at the moment, I'm just kind of sitting patient with everything. We made our sales, we followed our rules, and executed on the rallies, and so here we are right now.
So is there any chance, I mean, to talk about China and them purchasing and, the big meeting, and nothing's really rolled out since then, but is there a potential, when this peace deal does eventually get worked out, that's going to springboard into some potential buying from China because it's back to work?
Todd, that's my thought. I don't think China's going to do anything while the conflict in the Middle East continues, just because I just think they got to take that stance that they're being somewhat supportive to Iran and not just over here a bunch more business and deals. But I think once that issue gets behind us, if and when it gets behind us, I think you're going to see China step in and be a buyer of some additional U.S. ag. I don't really know for sure where that's going to be. I thought maybe it could happen in the in the sorghum, ethanol, DDG side of the corn market, or possibly the in some of the milling wheat areas. I'm still not real sold on the fact they're going to step in and be aggressive buyers of more beans at where we were. But now maybe prices get back down here a little bit, then you could hear me sing a different tune. But that's why I said I don't really want to navigate a bearish position into this, especially with as much meat that's already been taken off the bone a little bit. So I'd rather navigate a bullish position and try to average in on the bigger breaks and get myself in position for some type of supply side hiccup with the strong demand in the picture as well. So,
all right. Well, hey, in regard to the screwworm cases that have been reported creeping across the border in the United States, after the knee-jerk reaction where everybody got a little freaked out, but then the USDA came out with their containment plan and announced it and stuff, and things kind of rebounded. But what do you got any extra insights besides what we already know in regard to that? And what's your thoughts it may be to affecting the markets and rebuilding herds going forward right now?
I certainly don't helps anything. It just depends how the market's going to play it out. Like I said, I certainly don't think it helps. I think we stay tight for probably extended period moving forward. Now, price action-wise, like I said, all bets are off because you just never know how that's going to play out. Are you going to get export bans that people don't want to, U.S. beef? You just don't know. We've had some wild swings in the market off the headline. So I think there's just still more to be uncovered on that front side and to see how things play out and to see how it moves forward. So.
Yeah, if you're a cattle guy out there and got some great insight, call me and let me know. Let's get some boots on the ground on that one.
If you're a cattle guy, I promise you're calling and saying it's bullish. So I'll just say
I know. No, exactly. Hey, while we're on an agricultural point, you wrote a story on the biological pivot yesterday, basically about the Scope 3 reporting, how the big companies are, starting to pretty much put that into infrastructure decision making. Anyway, we had one of our good friends and clients sent in a reply that reminded him of the great transition that happened in the hog industry in 1998 and 1999. I just thought if you had thoughts you want to share them now, or what maybe that sparked further for your consideration and his point, or just to kind of share it.
He made a good point, Todd. You can go into more of the specifics of it, but no, I can see some of the thoughts, like you're saying, come on there that it's similar, right? Similar, but no, yeah. I think what the Mark Twain line. I don't know if history necessarily repeats itself, but it certainly rhymes, and there's interesting things happening and how government policy, what's going to happen with soil, what's going to happen with the CI scores, what's going to happen with how they dictate what we need to do with soil. But, I think you did some research. What did you have on it?
Well, no, I just think overall in the premise, and I had to do some research. Obviously, I wasn't around, wasn't in the space, and I feel like I got a basic understanding. But what I came up with, I think, generally speaking, though his sentiment and direction of the comments are absolutely 100% on, and it ties back to what we wrote in the thing. Farmers got to basically, I think two things changed. They do have a little bit of a firewall with land ownership. Because it's hard to control all that when when you're trying to scale up, but the big companies do. And then the data. You and I go round and round for data for years. It seems like data is going to become a packaged eventual commodity. Maybe it's a premium source right now, but I do believe that farmers need to, they need to have their own stuff, stay independent, but even that could backfire if the companies get in front of the curve, set the premium, everybody capitulates and does it, and then the one guy that stands out trying to be the guy trying to get the premium has nowhere to go with his stuff for 300 miles. So there's a lot of play, but I think farmers need to be a bit attention, like you always say, hey, this is the direction things are going. Agree with it, don't agree with it, like it, don't like it, but how are you going to prepare your operation for it? And simply, great point was brought up, but we do need to consider, okay, are there things that we can learn from that and do different and move ahead? Because it is I think it is a potential. It's in the front. It's in the windshield, and they need to address it. But it's just. I think it's a great point needs to be brought up, discussed, and guys think about, because boy, everyone. Here's the thing, Kevin. I think, in all honesty, every company is out there trying to get data contracts signed with folks. Now, is that some part of the nefarious activity? I got no idea. It's probably just part of day-to-day business. But we'll see. But smarter minds than me are going to have to figure it out. But I think it's something guys need to talk about.
I mean, but if you want to sit back and look at the entire picture, at least my view from 30,000 feet is that for AI, and this is a conversation I recently just had with the kids, just to let them get a better understanding about my thoughts, is for AI to work. So you need, and we wrote about this, Todd. You wrote about this, the digital twin.
Right.
You need a digital twin. And in the digital twin, let me kind of explain a little bit further. For AI to work, it needs all the data, right? It needs the blueprint and the data. Now, in the world of finance, where I came from, in the financial industry, trading, investing, banking, all that, look at the digital twin footprint that was already in place, meaning they already had, we were sending out daily statements, monthly statements, weekly statements, annual statements, sending out every quote, every price of the market, everything of your investment, your bank statement, your bank account, online, all that. So there was a massive digital twin created of the real thing that now AI then layered on top of that can do some amazing things. And that's why you've seen AI really be integrated into the world of finance first with our cryptocurrencies and our Bitcoins and all these other things that NFTs and any way you want to play this, AI has really been able to do some things in the world of finance. Now you move over to the healthcare sector, and you know, we all go in and get our blood work done, and it's all standardized. Your number should be between this and this and this and this, and you go in and you get an X-ray, and they know that a bone may be broke because of this and this, or you go in to get an MRI or a sonogram, right? And, you know, they know to a gnat's ass, basically, the size your liver should be, the size this organ should be, and they can identify problems really fast. So there was a huge digital digital twin in place in the healthcare sector as well, right? So you've seen AI be able to come into this healthcare sector and do some really big, amazing things, and they're forecasting that out forward. Now we sit here and look at agriculture, and there is no good digital twin platform in place. It's a ton of fragmented little businesses and operations and industry leaders that really kind of have their own little pod, own little things going, and there's no real digital twin that has yet been created that can blueprint exactly everything that's happening on the farm or in the operation of the farm, from a small county scale to a statewide scale to a global scale. There is not that continuity of a digital twin in place. So AI, in my opinion, is struggling to come on and do a lot of help for the producers, the ranchers, and the people that would really could use help with some of those tools. Now, I know you, Todd, you have these massive prompts and these things that you put in to do all that, but still, you have to have all of that data and all of that digital twin type. It's all the digital twin, basically. I mean, you're just having, instead of everything being out there on the farm, it's all on the paper and in the data, and the AI is able to look at that and analyze it. Like when Todd and I pull an image in of a chart, I wanted to have AI help me do my charts during the week, but when you take a screenshot of a chart, say, or something, and you pull it in, AI doesn't actually have the data. It just has the image. And the problem is, if it just has the image, it really does a shitty job. It doesn't have the raw data to do its best work. And so it shoots out kind of, some hokey stuff. And that's the same problem that we're going to see moving forward with farm, is who's going to be able to create a digital twin or a platform. And, people would say it was going to be John Deere, it was going to be Bayer. I really don't think it is. I think it's going to be someone else that is able to take all of that data, create some type of platform. And people have tried to work on this, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But, Todd, if you look at what Musk did, that's all he's done. I mean, he's got Google now paying him what I think we ran this week, $900 and some million a month.
900 something, yeah. That's
access to some of these, but like everyone's saying, look at what Musk, how far ahead of everyone. Like he got the cars out there, got all the driverless cars, and collected all the data. All of the data. I don't even think he'll care if he builds cars anymore because they're just using all that data, and he wants to control the world of transportation, not just a car. And as you can see, that's what he is able and now going to be able to do. Waymo's trying to catch all the, Waymo has the driverless taxi cabs, but they weren't collecting any, Musk had all kinds of cars on the road collecting data from everyone for years on where they're driving, how they're driving, what's happening here, what's happening there, all of that data. And now Waymo's trying to catch up with that data so AI can then do its thing. And, look at what he's controlling. Look at all the data when he goes over and buys X or Twitter. Well, now he's getting all that data and all that intel. And then he creates Grok to digest the data, become his AI wing. Then he has the satellites in place that are also gathering and are the providers of the data, basically. Then he's building the data centers in space that are going to house the data. And he's literally going to close the loop and control the data. So, I think that ultimately is going to be the play in agriculture. The part I can't get my head around is like, what is that you and other people deem to be so lucrative to the individual? Because all this data Musk has collected, it's from individuals, it's from the internet, it's from people driving their cars, it's from everything else. Well, you don't have your data from your car on lockdown, do you, Todd?
No, but I ain't making money off of my car. I ain't making money off my car data.
Well, some people are. Some people use Uber. Some people.
Well, they may be, but no, I think I get what you're saying, brother. But I think the difference.
What do you mean by making money? You're making money with what?
The data that farmers are going to collect are obviously going to be factored into some major new premiums, and they already are for companies. Dude. Here's the big thing, and like I said, we used to go round and round this. The problem with most farmers right now, is their data consists of a bunch of thumb drives stuck in a Ziploc bag in their office. And until that gets collected...
Yeah, someone like you came and told them that don't let anyone ever touch your data. Do keep all this and keep the data. Don't let anybody see the data. Don't let anybody touch the data. I just don't understand that mindset of not sharing the data. Because all I'm telling you is this. Musk created an open platform when he went into all this and allowed everyone to share the data and share in what was being built and share how it was. And I just think that mentality and mindset, if smarter people out there had the data and were able to use that, come up with tools then to create and make other things that allow us to have better equipment, better technology, all of that. So I'm not sure. No one's ever been able to explain it to me either. Why I don't want to share my data with smarter people that are able to help me do something with the data rather than sit and have it locked away in my gun safe thinking like it's worth billions of dollars to who? Who's it worth billions of dollars to? And what am I going to do with it while it sits there?
No, you're not going to do nothing. Well, a top-tier producer that has all this data and is using the AI now.
No, I know that, obviously.
Okay.
Yeah, we all know that. You can use it to your advantage. I know this.
Okay.
But so what about what is the big deal with having it on lockdown where you don't want to share it with other people that are smarter and going to do things at a bigger, broader.
In my opinion, Kevin, I think part of that is a cultural issue where farmers have always played close to the vest and they're using like our client did, brought up a reference, it brought back memories of things bygone days. So I'm not going to give it up. I agree. That is old time thinking. It's not going to benefit you or anybody, and it is coming that you want to collect it. We've had people at FarmCon, and I think they're still going. They're basically trying to create. I know folks that are creating data co-ops, and I think that's going to be the way to generally go. But once again, as when you saw what happened to the spot markets and the hogs after the upstream controlled the decision to put contracts out there. I can see the fear there, but we're in a limbo, man. We know people make money off data. We know companies collect data, and so it just seems simple to have not given it up. Us against them. So you're right. I can't argue with you. I don't have good argument with you. But I know that data is going to be something. If you're on a farm, you have to have it cleanly, structured data so that any AI form can use it, or so that a company comes, you can at least pass it off to them because they ain't taking Ziploc bags full of thumb drives. So anyway, if nothing else, get your data collected properly, cleaned up, stored properly, and ready.
No, but I'm so tired of hearing that. That's just the dumb.
I know you are.
I mean, it's just something that's like reporters say nonstop. Like, oh, have your data, have it cleaned, have it. No kidding, no shit. I mean, we've all heard this 7 million times. So, like, it's just people, to me, just regurgitating the same thing and thinking they sound intelligent. Tell me why. What are we doing with it, and how in the hell is that going to end up helping my family stay on my farm that's been here for 3 generations? And what am I doing with this data that is in my safe now?
Well,
and I got that it's going to help me make better decisions, but okay, so what? That's every industry. That's everything. That's sports. I get my data. Oh, what? I measure my swing. I measure my swing speed. Whether I'm in baseball, I measure my hand strength. I measure this. Okay, great. That's all great, but it isn't like the data's worth like gold or something. I mean, it is data, and you use data to help yourself improve, help you do this, help things get better, to make better and better decisions. That's where I'm saying, by this elusiveness that has been created, that this data is like a piece of gold for you to sell somewhere or to do so, I think is what is created a little bit of the problem.
Well, I'll leave my last point here on this topic, and that is, I mean, based on even the story we just wrote, on the Scope 3 stuff. If you don't have the data that establishes your biological baseline, you're never going to know what your improvements are, and then you're leaving premiums on the table. I mean, that's the simple way to put it right there. So that's all I got for you on that one.
Yeah, but nobody knows what data they even need. You don't know what data you need. The only thing you're doing is hearing it from secondhand, third-hand people that actually are out there trying to make things happen. So what I'm trying to say is, you don't even know the data that you need, that Organics needs to sell to a private carbon market.
Well, then you better go find out.
I know, but you're not going to go find out. That's why I'm saying, why wouldn't you just let people come out, get the data they need, that the data they need?
No. Don't miss. Yeah, okay. We got our trains. I'm with you on that. Yes, that's part of my process to get your data is partner with somebody. Yes, and do that. I'm sorry.
Well, you just said everybody don't want to do that because they're scared of what's happened in the past and people have taken advantage of the farmer.
No, that's why. Hey, okay, that's why we.
And that's what I feel the mentality is. I feel the mentality is this. Oh, man, this guy's coming out here in a fancy car with a white off belt on, and he's for sure going to just snake me on this deal. I don't know where, but he is, and I'm giving up nothing. And it's like, okay, but that's not going to get us anywhere. I mean, that's not.
No, it's not. So to back this all the way up, I agree with you 100% on a lot of the points you're making, but I do think you need to let those companies who know what they need as established baseline. That's where I guess I was not making I'm agreeing with get credible partners that, find somebody. I mean, I assume people will trust us. We just happen to work with the company you mentioned, okay? So you can do something, move forward on that. But anyhow, good.
Giving up my data is if I'm doing something wrong. If I'm lying on my taxes, if I'm not turning in bushels, if I'm lying to my banker, if I'm lying to all kinds of people, well, yeah, I'm probably not wanting to give up any data because I don't want anybody knowing that I'm doing all kinds of weird stuff.
No, I hear you.
Got it, but it's like, if you want to get better, right? Like, well, then you're going to give up the data because you're like, hey, I'm proud of what I'm doing. I want to try and use the data to get better. I want somebody that can help me take what I have here, take this, and help me get better. You see what I'm saying, TL?
No, I do. But I also
I'm saying, I think people are looking at it all wrong. I think they're trying to keep people from sniffing out or figuring something out. I just think you got to be more open and transparent and more sharing to try to get out there and get ahead of it where you can use some of these tools that are available and are coming available but I'm just saying, we don't know those things. I don't know things. I need help on those things. I need people to come in that are way smarter than myself and be willing to be open and sharing and transparent to some degree and see where we get. So that's all I'm saying. I just feel that's where, and everyone came out early and really went nuts on this data thing. And I think it spooked some people because
I agree.
I was spooked. I was like, hell, what the hell are you talking about? I'm not supposed to give up this data. What am I doing with this data? Hey, and then everyone made me think like I don't know what I don't know. And I think there were people there talking a bunch of shit they didn't know. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting here thinking, man, I don't even know what this guy's talking about. He's way over my head. And so when that happens to you, you second guess yourself and you pause and you're like, hey, well, I'm not going to give up any of my data because I'm thinking maybe I could be screwed.
No, I don't disagree with
you. It's like a bunch of people came out early and talked way above all of our heads. And
right. That makes sense.
That spooked me. And it made me think I need to go back and do more research. I need to go learn more about this before I just give away everything. And, well, then I'm so confused I'm on pause, and I don't want to give away nothing. But it isn't helping me any, really. I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's not putting myself in a real lot better position where I've seen some of these that have just said what the hell and joined, like, say, with Organics or some of the other groups that are out there and partnered with them. Hell, I watched some people get massive, I'm talking massive checks these last year on this carbon where I'm just like.
That's a good point, brother. Yeah.
And they were the people that were willing to take the risk and they were willing to partner with someone and they trusted some folks and, it worked out well. Now, I'm sure there's just the same number of stories, Todd, of people that went out there and trusted some folks, and it didn't go so well. So, with certain other times. So I'm just saying, I don't know, but I feel like we've got to get more open about all this because in all the other spaces, they're stealing all the data, and we don't even know they're stealing the data. I mean, we don't even think about it. And what's allowing everyone to give us a better experience on Netflix, a better experience on Spotify, a better experience in driving your vehicle, a better experience with whatever. And I'm just saying, we hopefully can at some point get there with agriculture, where I think once that's unlocked and once that digital twin is created by some platform, I think there's got a limit on what we're going to see change and happen in agriculture. I think it could be crazy. So, and that's where our customer or our client and friend wrote in saying it could also be really bad for a lot of folks when AI comes in. I think he's absolutely right. Just looking at what the train did, and I keep referencing back to the train and how it came about and how much just really expensive and really time-sensitive and labor-intensive it was to build out the rail and all of that rail across the United States and to flatten the ground and to put in the spikes and to drive the railroad tie and every single bit of it. Think about what a monumental task to put that train through the mountains, through the valleys, through all where it did. But once it finally got connected, I mean, look at everything that came about. And if you were a person that was working the stables and feeding horses the hay, and all of a sudden the automobile and the train came about, well, you're going to be out of luck, right? I mean, you're going to be out of a job before long. So yeah, I think the same thing in agriculture. I think if you're going to sit here and just think that we're at what they're calling a fourth industrial revolution, and that you're just going to do what your great grandpa did and continue to do that, yeah, I suspect you may have a problem brewing. And that's where I'm saying you've got to be thinking AI. You got to be thinking CI scores. You got to be thinking, hey, when these digital twins are created and AI gets deeper in here, what's going to start changing? Like everything that changed with the railroad. Like I said before, you had a hat maker in every town. Well, once the railroad got there, you didn't. And no one saw it coming because you had companies then like Stetson or other hat makers start running hats into your town and everywhere else and doing it at a fraction of the cost because they were at scale. And now every hat maker in the town's out of business. and there's only a few happening. So the railroad brought in all the big box stores and brought the cattle. There was no cattle industry before the rails. There was no grain industry before the rails. I mean, think of that. It brought the storage, man. It brought everything. There was no refrigerated meat cars until the rails. So none of that existed. Nothing. And you didn't have cattle being driven to Kansas City or Chicago until the rails. It brought about the stockyards. It brought about, and you got to go back and really think through that carefully and look at everything that changed and flipped. And so that's where I'm saying we're at that precipice. We're at that period of time right now. And I suspect there's going to be some crazy, huge opportunities in agriculture as this thing flips and dips here. And in fact, it's going to be similar to those opportunities that were created around the rail. And if you think about that, that's when everything happened. That's when the Cargills came to fruition. That's when, like I said, the big cattle came. That's when you had the big meat companies come. That's when everything that we know that exists really today came about during that period of time. And that was where the golden opportunity lied. And so, like I said, I'm trying to embrace it. I'm trying to look at it as if, man, if there were ever an opportunity in my lifetime to help put some things in place for my kids, grandkids, and their kids and grandkids of theirs, I mean, this is probably the moment over these next 10 to 20 years. And I just think we got to try and just figure it out collectively together with some sharp people in the room and just try to game out and play where this all's headed, Todd. So I'm excited about it all. I just think people got to be open and excited as well and look at it. Like I said, I mean, the rails are coming. The railroad is coming, and there's no question it's going to change and really flip a lot of things. And I think we're just starting to see the tips of that track being laid, like I said, in the world of finance, in the world of medicine, medical, healthcare. And I think you're going to see that really start to, as that gains more traction, we're going to see that roll over into ag, and it's going to be, lights out.
Well, I just wonder where, I mean, I've been here 10 years now. I've seen things kind of play out in 100% agreement with everything you said, but I'm just picturing who's coaching the family farmer up on some of this stuff, because they don't have a lot of trusted advisors that know this stuff. Corporations got their people building this AI infrastructure and doing different things. It is a crazy time. It's an opportunistic time, but
I don't think anybody's coaching them up. Look back at the rail. Do you think anybody was going around coaching up the guy making hats in each little town? I mean, I don't think anybody's going around.
Let's learn from that. Okay, let's learn from that.
Well, there was nobody going. I mean, it's too fragmented of an industry, and everyone's too guarded. I mean, it's everything. Your neighbor's your competitor, and it's fragmented, and there's really no one trusted source where you feel like hey, this person will try to pull one over on me or try to make me or something. So, yeah, no, I agree. And that's what I'm saying. We're kind of on this little edge out here, but we have to mentally, we just have to mentally see what's coming, the freight train that is coming.
Let's start there. I agree.
Trying to say, look, all I know is this. I feel like if I stay the same and I keep the mentality that, look, horses aren't ever going away. Mules are never going away. This is how we've always done it with horses and mules. I just need faster horses and cheaper hay. I mean, and if I have that mentality and I'm like, this rail thing's never going to make it, this rail thing's never going to make it, this rail thing's stupid, it's all about the mules. Well, I feel if that's what I'm doing, and I don't, and it's fine. And let me tell you this, Todd, you may be thinking that you're not doing that. But if you look at your operation and you look at your day, and if there haven't been some massive changes that you've made in the last 5 to 6 years, well, then you're doing that. You're still sticking with the horses and the mules. I mean, because there's been some, look, Todd, have you changed anything in the last couple of years, Todd, on how you do your business and work for me? Changed everything? Yes or no?
Yes, I have.
Dramatically, right? Like in the last year, with AI, with all the tools, with everything it's built, with Claude, with the coding, with everything, you've massively had to change. Okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. I suspect a lot of people are doing nothing but reading about the storm that's coming
Right.
There's any change happening. They're still feeding the hay. They're still using the mules. And the fun part is they're going out looking to buy more horses and more mules. Instead of going to the Chicago World Fair and checking out this rail car that's being built and these railroad tracks that are being laid, and how in the hell is this going to change the world? Right.
Okay. This is getting out there a little bit, but 100% agreement. But you look at the age of the average American farmer now. The fact that they're on the 18th hole, like Kevin. They're on the 18th hole. They ain't looking to make these changes on the 18th tee box.
Then I go over and die.
So what's going to? I want to ask a broader question. There's
a lot of things that go extinct. Kodak went extinct when they didn't pay attention to the iPhone. Blockbuster went extinct when they didn't listen to Netflix and Redbox. I can go through the list of every company that's gone extinct in business because they thought nothing was going to change.
I'm admitting that. I'm admitting that these guys are going to go extinct. My question is, what's going to happen? How's it going to change farming if 25% of the acres that are controlled by guys? These things aren't changed. I guess I'm thinking my own answer. It don't matter. The land's going to get sold to the guy that is doing it. So never mind. I guess I answered.
No, but I was saying asking a question like that is just the same as the guy saying with the horses and mules. There's no way this is going to change what I do on my operation.
Yeah.
Well, shit, it didn't. The hell it didn't. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You sat there and said, "Oh, there's no way this rail car and these railroad tracks are going to change anything I do on my farm." Well, the hell it didn't. It changed everything.
No.
And, but it changed everything. That's what I said. It brought about the car Canadians. It brought about, you got fresh produce now in New York that was shipped from California. You got the cattle. It changed everything. So there's no question in my mind that this AI isn't going to shake up and change probably everything. If you once it's got enough time and it gets all the tracks laid and all the labor and everything.
Well, and last thing to say, then the people got to realize, going back to data. As you said very well earlier, you can't apply AI if you don't have data.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's the tricky part. That's what makes it all make sense to me. It's like,
right.
None of these tools can work. The track is the data. The track that this train has to run on is the data. And so you got to have it. There's not even you can't even do anything without it. So.
No, that was good stuff. I hope we get some good comments on some of that stuff. It's definitely the big elephant in the room that needs to be addressed going forward. So
yeah, I agree.
Let us move into the world of the real world here of macroness and see. Tell me about what.
Before we wrap up, I think there have been quite a few people asking me about my play on SpaceX and how I'm going to play the SpaceX thing, and I don't know.
I haven't gotten there yet.
Well, no, I'm just saying we're close.
No, let's start there. Go. Sorry, go.
I don't know how I'm going to play. I'll tell you, be honest. I am long. I own a few of Ron Barron's products, which I talked about at FarmCon. I've got some decent money invested in those, both his mutual fund and his fund that he participated. Ron was probably the biggest, I think, single individual stockholder of Tesla from early, and a huge believer in Musk. And he, through all that ownership, through their fund, they own a sizable amount of SpaceX. I heard they had first right of refusal on about $1 billion worth of shares off the IPO. So, I don't know. I think it's going to be wild. There are a few things to think about. I just don't think we've ever seen an IPO of this size or proportion with everybody having access to the markets and everybody wanting to trade. So this thing could be nuts. I think, they're talking about starting her out on Thursday. Will be the rollout. It'll start trading maybe on Friday. Talking about, fixed price issuance of around $135 a share, valuation, probably $1.8 trillion at that level. But it's going to be interesting to just see how it plays out. Will we come out of the gate? I remember back in 2012, it was May of 2012 because I was in Memphis in May. when the Facebook IPO came out, and it was the biggest thing that the market had ever seen at that time. And it created some problems with the NASDAQ. It created some problems in the trading world just because there was so much action and at one time on one share. So, Facebook came out, I think it was in the mid-30s, up to about $40. And then it really kind of tanked off and struggled. I think it got down into the $12, $15 range at one point there, just because there was some news come out that basically giving someone some preference over something. I don't know. It squirred the market up, though, on its transparency, full transparency, and if there was being full transparency in place. And it had a pretty sizable pullback. There's a lot of talk out there, though, Todd. If you see this Tesla thing just really take off and go nuts, or excuse me, SpaceX, not Tesla, that it'll add more validity to some of these bears that are talking that we're in 1999. We're getting closer to the peak of the bubble. So I think you're going to have a lot of people paying a lot of close attention. The word on the street I heard was that, we get up over $230, $240 a share. Let's say it comes out at 135, it trades and settles that first day over like 230, 240. Boy, that's probably a little worrisome to the market, just because we may be coming untethered a little bit from real fundamentals, meaning we've become just simply momentum-based market. And if that happens, that's what happened in the dot-com era. We kind of became untethered to real, true fundamentals, where you couldn't really put a valuation on anything because nothing made sense. Everything was just trading on momentum, like the tulips, right?
Right.
Like the great tulip mania, where tulips were going for thousands and thousands of dollars. There was no rhyme or reason. Similar to kind of the way you've seen Bitcoin trade or some of those others trade. There's no real fundamental rhyme or reason. It's because, and when you're in markets like that, you are doing nothing but trading momentum to some degree.
Okay.
That's dangerous.
Let me ask you on that. So, do you see a difference between, because the one thing you didn't say, I was waiting for you to say, is the NFTs, those sponges, whatever, those NFT things. That was a total example of what you're talking about, was it not?
I mean, yeah, I'll probably be a buyer of that. I mean, serious. I'm looking. I just told Jordan last week or two. I mean, I've got my eye closely on that NFT space.
Okay.
And I will be a buyer of those, some of those higher dollar valued NFTs on the deeper break. I'm just telling you now. And I will. I mean, it'll be a complete crap. I mean, it'll be a 100% spin of the wheel lottery play, but I will buy them. I promise you, I will buy some in the next 6 months or to a year, because it just too many times play out in my life, like just too many times. Right. All the, and you've seen the chart of it. You get the euphoria, everything goes nuts, prices go crazy high, and then they start on that downside. And they go so far, I mean, they completely rip people's faces off to where everyone thinks nobody wants them anymore. They're worthless, and that's when I'm going to try and step in and snag a few, just in case, we go back through the cycle again, and
That's a good point. That's a good point.
That's all I'm saying, because I've seen it happen. I've seen it play out with other things.
Right. And that's a good spec, man.
Everything, especially in the collectible world. In the collectible world, you do become untethered to traditional fundamental demand. Fundamentals, meaning true, true supply and demand things. And what you do is the collectible market trades really on emotion and just human emotion, and it can trade like those manias, the tulip mania and the other things. And so I view that NFT space as something similar to that. And so I think, just like when Bitcoin, there were tons of times Bitcoin had massive pullback. And, and everyone says it's dead. Here we got another resurgence. So, I don't know. I don't have that position right now in Bitcoin, but right now I have the smallest position I've ever had in Bitcoin. And that's really where we're at. I mean,
so
in my
would you?
Back to the thing on the SpaceX IPO, just so we can make sure everyone's kind of on the same page. Remember that it's probably going to get included into the triple Qs. I think maybe within the first 15 to 30 days, they're talking somewhere in there. So that'll provide another maybe 15-20% bump in overall demand and volume coming in because it added into the index. That provides that. But on the flip side, it's got a weird, if you read in between the lines a little bit, it's got a weird lockup period and lockup expirations for the insiders. And they're able to sell a lot more shares earlier than what we would traditionally see. Traditionally, I think you got to wait like 6 months or something. In a lot of those, the lockup period is. Well, this is like there's so much can be sold within the first, I don't know what it is, 3 months. There's so much can be sold. If the price goes up X%, there's so much that can be sold. So there's a lot of weird, or I shouldn't say weird, but just a lot of different type of things going around in the SpaceX IPO that I haven't really been a part of personally in some of these. But, Todd, I'm probably not, I don't want to say I'm not going to be a buyer of it. They hit me up at both E-Trade and Robinhood if I wanted early shares. But both of them are asking what price you're willing to pay, how high you want to pay. And I haven't willing to commit to that because I'm playing it through Ron Barron's funds instead. So I'm probably not going to have a flat price position in the SpaceX IPO out of the gates. I think it's going to be one crazy wild ride, but I would prefer to play it through some of these other avenues. So.
You just brought up a question in my mind now. So is that, being a rookie here, is that you being offered shares, was that something because of your level of investing?
I got emails earlier this week.
I didn't get any of those emails, I guess what I'm saying. How come? Because it has to do with the amount of money in
I don't think you trade on either of those platforms, do
you? Probably not, but I trade on a platform. I'm assuming they all got the same. Anyhow, I just didn't.
Not the case. They don't all have the same.
Okay, that's what I'm wondering.
Or E-Trade and Robinhood may be the only two platforms that allocation.
Gotcha.
I don't know that for certain, but
I was just curious. I'm also curious. What would you have had to pay to get them shares?
Oh, no. That is what I'm saying. The question is.
I didn't hear that. Okay, all right.
Early on the earth. Yeah, you don't even know what you're saying.
What is going to happen? Where's all the money coming from, man? Because these passive investments and it gets in the funds. They're going to have to reallocate.
What money's going to come out of what to drill into what? Well, there's a lot of people saying that a lot of the crypto people are going to try and make their money back now in SpaceX or Anthropic or OpenAI. People have lost quite a bit of money on the crypto side. So I don't know. You may have money chasing from that side of it. That's been a little bit of the worry, is you may pull a lot of money out of some of these other big tech. But I don't. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay. So you don't.
That's where I said I've walked it back. I'm trying to use the rallies to lighten up a little bit and just raise a little bit more cash. No need to get greedy here. I just think a lot of the underlying dynamics for me have changed and shifted a little bit. I don't think money's going to be cheap anytime soon. It doesn't look like rates are going lower like people had thought. I don't think energy is going to be crazy cheap anytime soon. I think it could pull back, but I don't think it's going to be cheap like people were hoping to see it. And I don't think labor is going to be cheap or weak. So, those to me are the three main drivers of AI. You need cheap money because everybody's borrowing a shitload to build this out. You need cheap and available labor because everybody needs that on the blue-collar side to do the sub work to build it out. And you need cheap energy available to run it, and that is not as cheap as it once was. So for me, for everyone who'd been forecasting that there was going to be all this money made and tons and tons of money profited off of AI and these data centers, I think that playbook's going to be wrong. I think that playbook, they overshot that a little bit, at least nearby as things have changed. Now, if AI works its way into the labor force more and we get a weakening U.S. labor market, and a weakening labor market means there's a lot more layoffs, a lot more people looking for work. They end up going to work at some of these data centers, going to work at some of these places. That's cheaper labor. That problem with labor then could cause the Fed to lower rates. Feds lower rates, that means cheaper money. Cheaper money makes more energy available, makes other things more expandable. Now you're going to get cheaper energy in play. Now that combination could fuel an additional rally. But that is what we were forecasting earlier, and then a lot of those things have kind of changed and unfolded in a little different pattern. That's why I'm saying, hey, we've had one hell of a run. The best run I've ever seen that I, outside of the .com run for tech, I was really bullish, big tech, Todd, that's been the play. And I'm just kind of backing off that a little bit because I think we've had such a crazy run in big tech based on the bulls bet on promises. Remember, bulls bet on promises. And all I'm telling you is I think some of those promises that they were betting on may get a little more cloudy here as we move forward into these midterms. And I suspect the media is going to really beat that drum and play up the high energy costs. I think they're going to play up that the inflation's high and hot, and so that means interest rates going to need to move higher. And I just think that media frenzy is going to get a little louder as we go into the midterms, and I'm just going to probably take a little risk off the table.
So would you agree or not agree the Fed's trapped in higher for longer mode right now?
What is that?
Would you agree or not agree that the Fed is trapped in a higher for longer mode right now?
I don't think so, but I think the media is going to want to spin that and play that. I don't. I think AI is inherently inflationary. I think once Trump gets out of this dilemma in the Middle East, I think you're going to see energy prices cool down. I think you're going to see bigger headwinds on the employment front. They're not here as of yet, but I think you're going to see some headwinds. I think you're going to see some people being laid off. I think AI is going to take more jobs than we're currently seeing. It may take a little bit of time to play out, but eventually that puts the Fed in a more dovish position, and I think the Fed's going to be cutting. Like I said, you may get a rate hike here, a rate hike there over the next 6-12 months, just simply to appease and calm some things down here a minute on the inflationary front. But I don't think it's any more than that. And then I think eventually we're going to see a series of rate cuts. And that's, where I think that could be headed. And I think that would be a more bullish case or a more bullish scenario. But I think there could be a shakeout before we get there. And I'd like to just, maybe participate in that shakeout. So
Yeah, take me with you. All right, so I guess back to my last rookie question then. So you're not – I wanted to ask, hey, man, I'm seeing all this stuff out there that all this money's going to have to get rotated stuff. I know I talked rotation once. You said you don't play that game or follow that, but it looks like it's going to happen. So me, Todd Leckman, a regular investor, do I need to go move some of this stuff before my ETFs and Fidelity move it for me, and my stock goes or my price goes down because they're all getting in the IPOs? That mentality, you get what I'm saying?
Not really. Say it one more time.
I knew I'd get that. I'm just saying, okay, general investor. I'm reading in news there that, hey man, once this IPO comes, that money's got to come from somewhere. These passive index funds are going to have to allocate dollars, so something's going to happen. And a lot of people are insinuating it's going to come off, starting trimming on the tech stuff. So if I'm sitting there heavy in some of these things that have been booming, should I go? Would you recommend? I know you don't give direct advice, but should I get on the sideline a little bit with more things as this IPO plays out in case there is a huge rotation that's all coming from previous highs in tech and stuff?
Yeah, I wouldn't know how to answer that question. I mean, I think everybody
Sorry.
Well, no, I'm just saying with investing, it's just like marketing your crop. I mean, you're going to have to. There's a lot of variables in play that you need to know. It isn't just follow what you read in a newsletter and just, hey, I'm just getting out based on this one data.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're a trader, sure, maybe if you're a day trader or short-term trader, it's swing trading in 2- and 3-day increments. But for me, none of those types of that. I just call that noise. I mean, that's just all noise to me.
Okay,
I'm investing 10 to 20 year time horizons most of the time. With my shorter, I guess in my trading accounts, I'll just be honest with you. I mean, they're sitting basically with nothing in them at the moment. I mean, I just don't have anything in my trading accounts to speak of. I don't see any easy shots on the court. And like I said all along, I'm focused on trying to shoot free throws and layups, and I don't shoot half court, full court hook shots anymore, and I try not to anyway. So, like I said, in my trading accounts, I don't really have anything. People be like, oh, what do we trade? I don't have anything right now.
Interesting.
Because I just don't see anything that I'm super excited about. I sold more cash silver a couple of weeks ago, when we were up close to back up to in the 80s. I sold a little more gold on that rally, physical, and I just think they're probably going to break and fall under pressure. I've got my smallest Bitcoin position on I've ever had. I'm taking profits and moving more cash to the sideline in the stock market. So as you can tell, I think it's been one hell of a run. I think it's been a great run, but I also know that trees don't grow to the sky. And so I'm, like I said, so if I miss out on more upside, I'm not really that worried about it. I'm just trying to protect the downside to some degree and lighten it up a little bit. Still participating in the rally on the upside, like I said last week, but got 1 foot towards the exit. And I'm just nervous a little bit that just because we've seen such a crazy, great run higher, things can happen. So that's all I'm saying. And I'm just taking time. And it's a combination of everything. It can be everything. It can be all the IPOs coming out. It's just a combination of all of that. And that's really where I'm at.
And you said, you're so consistent. It's just, like I said, I'm gonna quit asking some of those questions, but I get it. It's just, when you're on the internet, as I am a lot, helping get the report and stuff, it's just amazing the amount of crap you see. I can just see how people just start going down stupid rabbit holes. So anyhow, I know you got meeting stuff. You got 5 more minutes for.
No, I got a shake on it, but what do you got?
I thought you did. Okay, no. We'll put it on next week. We're going to touch on they're bringing those. The cities are starting to dust off the statues they hid away back in 2020. I want to get your thoughts. We can do that next week. So that's one of our many things. So appreciate it. Great conversation, Kevin.
Yeah, I got up with AFA and a charity deal.
Yep.
And so farm kids. So I've got on that, and hope that helps.
Well, thanks for
report, and then we got the report, and then we got the June 30th report after that. So I'll see we should have some happen there.
Cool, brother.
All right,
I appreciate your time today.
All right.
See you.
All right.
Bye.